Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and welcome if you're new. And by the way, it has been quite some time since I've uploaded a video. I don't know why, but 2 days without uploading a video just seems way too long. But anyways, hope everybody's been doing well. And today we have a brand new tactical rifle to dissect. So we're just gonna get to know the Carv 2 tactical rifle. So it just dropped today, and there's 2 ways to unlock it. So you either hop into multiplayer and you kill 2 or more enemies rapidly in 10 different matches, and you must complete those matches or else it will not count. Or you can go into Zombies Outbreak and just get 250 long shots. From what I hear, playing zombies is literally the fastest way to get this done if you are not trying to play some sweaty multiplayer. So we're going to take a look at the basic stats of the weapon, the pros, the cons, and we're also going to compare it to the overall tactical rifle meta as far as burst weapons go. So if you guys do enjoy the content, make sure to leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. It helps me out in the algorithm. And make sure to subscribe if you're brand new right here, or you constantly watch my videos all the time but you just haven't subscribed yet. What are you doing, man? Make it official. Join Turbo Nation today, and let's get on with the video. All right, so some general stats about the Carv 2 is that the damage is 39, so this is definitely a con. It is the weakest tactical rifle as far as burst weapons go, because, yeah, 39 is pretty lacking in it. However, there is some upside to this gun, and that is going to be the range. The effective damage range is the longest range burst rifle in the game, which is obviously a plus. And the fire rate is absolutely exquisite at 540 RPM. And of course, we are comparing it to the AUG and M16, which have lower fire rates. Now, it is certainly lacking in bullet velocity. The bullet velocity is much better on the M16 and the AUG. So there are some trade-offs there to, you know, what the strengths and weaknesses of this Carv 2 is. Also, one more added bonus to this gun is that the recoil, both vertically and horizontally, is better than the M16 and the AUG. So you can certainly beam people from long range with this. And speaking of recoil patterns, let's get into the recoil patterns just to show you guys how exactly amazing the recoil pattern is on the Carv 2. So I went ahead and tested out all the recoil patterns on the Carv 2, whether you're using, you know, different underbarrels or muzzles, you know, and even combining them together. Pretty much have it here laid out for you. Here in red is all the muzzles. Here in blue is all the underbarrels. Green is what the muzzle brake plus any underbarrel looks like. Yellow is what infantry compensator looks like plus any underbarrel, as well as SOCOM plus any underbarrel here. So, you know, one thing to note here about all these patterns here, I know it looks very, very overwhelming, is that you can't go wrong with any of these, honestly, because the recoil control is super easy on the Carv 2. So, you know, you can pick your poison, pick whatever you want to. I'm just here to provide you guys with the data, and you guys can just choose, you know, what tickles your fancy, you know, if that's what they say these days. So, for me personally, if I was going to use a combo attachment here, I'm going to 100% go with the infantry compensator plus the field agent grip. Obviously, this gives us a very tight, small, compact type of bullet pattern, and very consistent at that. Now, if you take a look at it with no attachments, I know this looks kind of ugly here where there's some separation here, but in reality, it's actually not that bad. Now, there's plenty of flexibility here, you know, as far as what kind of playstyle you have. So you can really just go with whatever you want to. So if you want to play up close and personal, then obviously you don't really need attachments that's going to help you out with recoil control. However, if you're going to be playing at a distance, that's when I do recommend something like the infantry plus the field agent grip. And I'm going to show you guys that later on in the video, my class setup for those long range engagements. And I do have one for a close range as well. And quick spoiler alert, it does not include any of these attachment combos here because, like I said, Carv 2 recoil control is super easy, super simple. Just pause the video if you want to. If you want to go ahead and pick, you know, which attachment combo you want to go with. That way, you know, you can make your own informed decision on what you want to do from here. All right, so I went ahead and calculated the time to kill with all the barrels that are available for the Carv 2, because there are plenty of barrels that are available that do increase the fire rate. So obviously, if you guys aren't aware, if you increase the fire rate on a weapon, that's going to help decrease the time it takes to kill an opponent. So it doesn't really matter, you know, your damage stats. If that fire rate is insanely high, that is going to result in a much faster kill. Anyways, so here's my TTK graph that I made here for all the barrels. So we got the Carv 2 base in blue, Rapid Fire in red, Strike Team in yellow, Titanium in green, and Task Force in orange. So what I do highly recommend, if you're going to play up close and personal and fairly aggressive, in order to reduce that TTK as much as possible, is to go with the Titanium barrel. So I'm going to get into detail in a little bit later on when I explain the class setups of why I chose the Titanium barrel, but long story short, it's got the most upside to it and the least amount of downsides and the best bang for your buck at 288 milliseconds versus, you know, something like the Strike Team at 294, fairly competitive, but it comes with, you know, a pretty hefty amount of negatives that are pretty much uncalled for, that is just only going to hurt you in a gunfight. So that's why I don't recommend using the Strike Team. Titanium is definitely a way to go if you're going to play up close and personal. And in my opinion, this is perfect because most of our engagements happen within 34 meters anyway. So the fact that it reduces our effective damage range by 25%, this has no effect whatsoever on a gun like the Carv 2, because remember, one of the pros is its damage range. It has the longest damage range in the burst rifle category. So that's what makes it a plus, in my opinion, that 288 milliseconds at 34 meters. Now, my second choice for long range engagements would be the Task Force barrel. So the Task Force barrel, it extends our damage range all the way out to 60 meters. You could also go with the Rapid Fire if you want to, but you know, it doesn't have as much damage range as the Task Force barrel would. Now the TTK is 333 versus 309. Obviously Rapid Fire has the faster TTK. At longer ranges, this TTK is not going to matter too much if it goes all the way up to 412 versus 333. Stays pretty solid up to 60 meters. Very good viable choice for medium to long range engagements in my opinion. All right, now if we're taking a look at headshots, there's a different story here. So when you're using this gun, you may think, oh, it's trash, you know, I have to 2-burst people just to be able to get a kill, right? But if you want to 1-burst people, definitely go for the head. Always aim high. Aiming for the head is my biggest tip on how to maximize your 1-burst kills. Not going to be hard with the class setup that I give you later on. So again, Titanium barrel is 192 millisecond TTK to the head. It's absolutely insane. And then you get a 222 TTK with the Task Force barrel up to that 60 meter range. This is going to put you at a huge advantage if you're aiming strictly to the head, because, you know, if you use this barrel and you aim to the head at this range, you're gonna be able to win a lot of gunfights fairly quickly. All right, so just for comparison's sake, I went ahead and put the M16 base and the AUG base as well as the Carv base. So clearly the Carv has the best effective damage range. Obviously you can add, you know, Task Force barrel to both the AUG and the M16 to increase their effective damage range. However, M16 only gets increased out to 32 meters. AUG, I think, only gets increased up to about 25 meters. I'll put the exact number on the screen. I don't remember off the top of my head, but all I know is that the AUG is not the greatest to use as far as, you know, flexibility goes. So Carv 2 definitely has the best range possible and a pretty decent TTK at these ranges. As you can see, it has the fastest TTK versus the M16 and the AUG, ridiculous AUG TTK at 588 and 463 versus 333 milliseconds. So at longer ranges, you are going to win that gunfight versus both of these tactical rifles. And the nice thing about, you know, putting all your information in a visual format here, like we see right now, it makes a lot of sense now, you know, how well balanced these guns are in the game. So AUG is great up close. Obviously right here, it's got the fastest TTK up close at 19 meters. M16 is your best bet for mid-range gunfights at 308 millisecond time to kill. And then your Carv 2 is pretty much a well-balanced tactical rifle. It is just dominant from mid-range all the way out to longer ranges. So you got pretty much something for everybody depending on your playstyle, how you want to play the game. So you can pick your poison. You want to go with close range, medium range, or you want to go with medium and long range with the Carv 2. So this is pretty nice balance in my opinion. This is my 5 attachment class setup, and we're going to go over an 8 attachment class setup as well for those who want that. So for this specific build, this is strictly for close range engagements. So we're going to be focusing mostly on speed as well as stealthiness. And also one one thing to note if you're going to use this class setup is that this is best on smaller maps with smaller range engagements, anything within 35 meters, which is typically what we usually get anyway in game. This class setup is going to be for you. And also do not forget to ADS around every corner and always assume there's always an opponent there. So anyways, the muzzle is going to be the silencer. Now, I know this is counterintuitive to reduce that bullet velocity even more. However, it's going to make sense in a little bit, but the only con is that 15% to your bullet velocity, and this is not going to affect your close range engagements because when you're up that close anyway, 500 meters per second is sufficient enough, and you're not going to have a hard time tracking your opponents when they're moving. The main overall objective with silencer is to stay as stealthy as possible, especially if you're playing up close and personal. Last thing you want to do is alert the opponents that you're there, that you just killed their teammate, and then they're going to go ahead and find you easier. So it's best to put on a silencer just to conceal your location just a little bit more, that extra layer of protection. Barrel is going to be the titanium barrel. So the titanium barrel is going to help us out because, as you guys have seen in the TTK graph, it gives us the fastest TTK. Obviously, if we're going to be playing up close and personal and that effective damage range does get reduced to 34, we can have a lot of fun with this. Remember, go for those headshots because headshots is what is going to melt your opponent, and that's how you can really take advantage of this gun's strengths. Now, I know there's going to be some of you asking me, Turbo, what about the strike team? Why not use the strike team? It's got extra damage to it and the fire rate is nearly identical. Well, you know what? That damage actually doesn't reduce the amount of shots it takes to kill, and also on top of that, it also reduces your idle sway control. So why not just go for the barrel that gives us the fastest TTK and virtually no downsides to it except for the effective damage range, which is pretty much the same thing as a strike team barrel. So another thing about the match grade, this is the most commonly asked question in my M16 video. When it comes to these tactical rifles, match grade barrel is pretty much useless because there's a lot better options out there, such as the Task Force, Titanium, and even the rapid fire. Now, the reason why is because, why would you want to extend your damage range all the way out to 91 meters and still have that mediocre TTK when, number one, most of our engagements happen within 40 meters anyway, and number two, you can make your TTK so much faster with the titanium barrel. So, it just makes absolute sense in that regard. And the match grade barrel also reduces your sprinting move speed. So why would you want to do that? So that's my argument for that. I don't know, maybe you can come up with a better argument, but I'm literally just stating facts here. Next, for this under barrel, we are going to be using the infiltrator grip. So this really caught my attention because what's really lacking with the Carv 2, especially if you're going to play up close and personal, is the speed. So by using the infiltrator grip, we're going to be able to increase our movement speed, shooting move speed, and our aim walking move speed. So if you're using this gun with no attachments on it, you're going to realize how slow it actually is. And by the way, since we're playing up close and personal, we don't need to worry about recoil control at all. Actually, in general, when you're using this gun, you don't really need to worry about recoil control unless you're playing at extremely long ranges. Then that is when you're going to want to use a different grip to be able to handle the recoil at those ranges. And we're going to get into that class setup in a little bit. So for the handle, we're using the Serpent Wrap. The main reason why is because it gives us ample aim down sight time, as well as minimizing that sprint to fire time as much as we possibly can at only 10%. Now, I did see a comment about the airborne elastic wrap about how I'm the only YouTuber apparently who does not like this attachment. It's not that I don't like it, it's just that every build has a pro and a con to it. A lot of the weapons in the game are pretty balanced as far as, how they make these attachments, the pros and the cons, etc, etc. So it's really on you as a player what is comfortable for you. I'm just giving you guys a baseline of how these attachments line up and how it, fits into the overall picture. So with the airborne elastic wrap, it reduces your shooting move speed. So in this case, for example, the Carv 2 has extremely low shooting move speed as is. So if we were to reduce that furthermore, obviously that's gonna put us at a disadvantage. And yes, there is quite a significant difference between having low shooting move speed and very fast shooting move speed. So if you guys want to see a video on that, I would gladly make an example video for you guys to see a visual to see what I'm talking about, because some of you guys don't believe me that shooting move speed is absolutely essential in close range combat, especially for assault rifles and tactical rifles alike. That's why when it comes to these kind of builds, this is what I like to capitalize on, is just making sure that I mitigate the shooting move speed as much as I possibly can. Stock is going to be the SAS combat stock. A lot of people want to go with the radar pad because it's the last stock that you can attach and you know, it just seems very attractive. However, look at this aim walking move speed, 40% versus 50%. You know, there is quite a big difference here from 4 to 5 miles per hour, and the shooting move speed is nearly at 8 miles per hour from that bottom of the 7 miles per hour for the Raider pad. Yes, the sprint to fire time is lacking here because we're not using the Raider pad or the CQB stock. However, you know, if you're ADSing, which you should with a tactical rifle, you are not gonna really need to worry about sprint to fire time at all. So that's not really important in the case of a tactical rifle. Remember, it's a 3-round burst weapon. If you're not pre-aiming around those corners, you're not assuming there's an opponent there. If you're caught sprinting into a room or an area, you are gonna have a hard time hitting your opponent regardless, even if the sprint to fire time was as maximized as possible. It's very unforgiving using a tactical rifle. You really have to have a certain amount of skill and knowledge to be able to take advantage of how this weapon should be used. All right, so here's the rest of my class setup. I'm using the 𝗬𝗦𝗢𝗔𝗠𝗏 deciding factor, gas mine C4, stim shot, and here are my perk setup if you guys are interested. All right, now here is my 8 attachment class setup designed for medium to longer range gunfights. This build is for playing more reserved, so just keep that in mind. Again, you still want to pre-aim down lines of sight where there's going to be a lot of high enemy traffic. You're going to get a lot of easy kills. So for the optic, we're using the 𝗧𝗘𝗥𝗕𝗦𝗢𝗠 multi-zoom. So this one I really like because the sights on it, when you look through it, is just so clear enough and it's not zoomed in too much. But you can also zoom in even further if you're playing on a much larger map with longer lines of sight. That is what's amazing about the 𝗧𝗘𝗥𝗕𝗦𝗢𝗠 multi-zoom. It just makes your life easier as far as seeing the opponents. Muzzle is going to be the infantry compensator. So this one gives us 25% vertical recoil with only 10% horizontal recoil control. Barrel is going to be the task force barrel. The damage doesn't really change our story as far as reducing the shots it takes to kill, but I'm mainly here for the effective damage range as well as that improved bullet velocity. So bullet velocity is going to be way more important when you're extending your gunfights out to longer ranges. So obviously that's why we want this attachment right here. And also that effective damage range of that 60-meter range is going to be very crucial if you're going to engage in long range combat. Now, the vertical and the horizontal recoil control does get reduced here, but it's only by 10%. Now, for the body, I'm using the soft target designator. This just goes hand in hand with playing at long range. You'll be able to see opponents, you know, at a much larger distance. Even if you didn't see them there, their red name is going to pop up above their body, and that's how you're going to know where they're at. More information, more you know. Underbarrel is going to be the field agent foregrip. We're mainly using this to mitigate the negatives on the task force barrel, just so we can get that vertical and horizontal recoil control going there. Now, I know the shooting move speed, yeah, I said, you know, we don't want to reduce that. But however, in this build, you know, we're not really playing too aggressive here. So it's okay to add a little bit of negative to our shooting move speed for the sake of just getting that vertical and horizontal recoil control from the field agent foregrip. And plus, we are using other attachments to help mitigate that negative. Magazine is going to be the 54-round drum, or you can go with the jungle style mag. Quite frankly, it's a tactical rifle. You're not really going to find yourself in many situations where you're running out of ammo fairly quickly. So I would pretty much go for the jungle style or the 54-round mag. You know, it doesn't really add too many cons as far as how the weapon performs or your speed. Only thing is the reload quickness with the 54-round magazine, so just do it at opportune times. Jungle style mag, you don't have to worry about any cons whatsoever, and you're going to be able to reload faster. Handle is going to be the serpent wrap once again, and stock is going to be the SAS combat stock again for that shooting move speed pro, as well as that 50% in your aim walking movement speed. All right, and my secondary is again the deciding factor 𝗬𝗦𝗢𝗔𝗠𝗏, stim shot Molotov, gas mine, flak jacket, scavenger, and ghost. These perks are optional. You can use whatever you're comfortable with. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And one thing I want to start doing now, for those who make it all the way to the end of the video, is I'm going to say a phrase that I want you guys to comment down below, just so I know who the real ones are. So today's phrase is going to be Turbo Nation. All right, so put that Turbo Nation in the comments if you have made it to this point. I really appreciate the support, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Yo, if you guys are always on your computer all day, or you like to game for long sessions, definitely check out GamerAdvantage.com for these blue light blocking glasses. Quite literally the best blue light glasses that you can ever find on the market. Make sure to check out GamerAdvantage.com and just learn more about it, man. There's so many benefits to keeping your eyes nice and healthy. You won't feel that strain at the end of the day, and you'll go to sleep like a baby at the end of the day, and that's the best part. You won't feel tired at all. Definitely check out GamerAdvantage.com. Use code TURBO at checkout.